Alright everybody, so today's lesson is how to find slope of a line. It says here slope of a line is the ratio of the rise over the run. So really when we find slope, all we're doing is writing down a ratio. It says it is a ratio. So remember, all a ratio is a fraction where I'm writing one number over another. Or so slope is going to be something like 1/4. Or it's going to be something like 2/3. Alright, we're going to be writing down our ratio is all. Now it says it's the ratio of the rise over the run. The rise over the run. Okay? And what that's saying is if I have a graph, basically if I have a graph like this of a line and I know 2 points on that line, okay, I'm thinking about, well, how do I get from one point to another point? How do I get from the first point up to the second point? Slope is really finding directions is what it is. It's finding directions. All right, directions from one point to the next line. And what this is going to be rise over run. So what we say here, if I clear this out, what we say here is rise. Well, rise is always talking about either how far up or down we go. So rise is going to be up or down. Remembering that on a graph that anytime numbers go up, it's a positive, and anytime numbers go down, it's a negative. The run is going to be how far either left or right that we're going to go. Again, remembering that anytime numbers go left, it's a negative, and anytime numbers go to the right, it's a positive. So I'm trying to find directions. How far up do I have to go, which is going to be my rise, over how far to the right or left that I go, and that's going to be my run. Because remember, when you rise, you're either standing up or you're sitting down, and run is you're going left or right. Okay? Let's go ahead and do one here. So this is example 1. I got 2 of them here, but we're just going to do part A first. For part A, it says draw the graph of a line that passes through the given points, then find the slope. So we're going to do part A. I'm going to put my graph paper up here because we're going to need to do that. Okay, so it's saying that we have a line that passes through the given points. And they give me 2 points, -1, 1, and 4, 3. So what I have to do is on my graph, put those 2 points. So -1, 1 means 1 to the left, up 1. So there's my first point. Okay, the second one is 4, 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, up 1, 2, 3, and I put a point there. And then using a ruler, what you should do is connect your dots, making a nice straight line. So there's the graph of a line. Did that. Draw the graph of a line that passes through the given points. Done. It says then find the slope. So remember, slope is just going to be writing a fraction. Okay, a fraction. I have to find out, and remember what we said was it's going to be rise over run. In slope are directions. I want to know how far up and how far over do I have to go to get from one point to another. Slope is just directions. Okay? One thing that you got to remember though is when we start counting from one point to the next, we have to remember, if I were to label my lines here, that positive numbers go to the right, negative numbers go to the left. So that's very important that you remember in your positive and negative numbers. Also, that positive numbers go up and that negative numbers go down. So anytime we're moving in those directions, you have to remember we're talking about positives or negatives. Okay, so if I'm starting at the first point here, change it to green, I have to count how far up do I have to go, and up is going to be my rise. So I'm using the grid lines as roads to get from one point to the next. And I have to go up 1, 2 streets there. So I'm going up 2, and because I'm going up and positive numbers go up, that means my rise is 2. Okay? Now I have to turn to get over to the other point. I have to turn to the right and count how many lines over I go. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to get to the next point. And since again I'm going to the right and positive numbers go to the right, that becomes a 5. So that slope ends up being 2/5, and that's it. You're just simply how far up and how far over do I go to get to the next point. And that's what we call the slope, and that's directions to get to the new thing. Okay? All right, so we're going to clear this out here. I'm going to clear my ink, and I'm going to let you go ahead and do part B here. So clear ink, and remember part A, we got an answer of 2/5. Okay? And now I want you guys to do part B. So start by graphing your 2 points. See if you can come up with the slope. So pause the video. Okay, so -3, 3. If we're back, and hopefully you did your line, here's what we do. -3 means to the left. 1, 2, 3, and then +3, 1, 2, 3, up. There's my first point. negative 3, 3. The second point is 1, 1. That's 1 to the right, up 1. There's 1, 1. I have to connect my dots using a nice straight line. You guys should be using a ruler. Okay? Now remember, what we're doing is rise over run, where rise can be going up or down, and the run is either going right or left. So I start at my first point. I always start at which one's further to the left. To get to the next point now, I have to go down. So I'm going to go down 1, 2 places here. So that's my rise. In this case, it's going down. Since I went down 2 places, it means it's going to be a negative 2, because anytime you go down, it's going to be a negative number. Then I have to turn and go towards the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the right to get to my destination. Since I'm going to the right, that's a positive number, so that's a 4. Just like any ratio, I do want to reduce. So 2 over 4 becomes 1/2, and don't forget that that's a negative number. All right, so I get a negative 1/2 for that one. Okay? One thing I'm going to point out while we're on this page, so I'm going to, again, clear the ink, and remember that we got 2/5 for this answer, and it was a positive 2/5. And for the second one, we end up getting a negative 1/2 for that answer. Notice that part A ended up being a positive answer, and part B ended up being a negative answer. Well, for part A, we ended up getting a line that went this direction, like this. And for part B, we ended up getting a line that goes this way. And this is one thing I want to point out is, we should be able to tell right away if our slope is going to be a positive answer, a negative answer, or it could be a 0 answer. And here's how we know. If I were to pretend that we were a person that were standing on this little hill here, okay, and you're going to walk up the hill. Well, think about, which direction you're going. If you're going up, what kind of numbers go up? Positives. This is going to be a positive slope anytime that your line goes in that direction. For part B, if this is you, okay, well, what direction are you going? You're going down the hill now. What kind of numbers go down? Well, they're going to be negative numbers. So just by looking at the line, you should be able to tell, is it a positive answer, like the first one is? It's a positive. Or is it a negative answer, like the second one is? It was a negative. Or very possibly our slope could be the number 0. You get the number 0 anytime that you have a perfectly flat line. Okay? Slope is going to be a 0 slope. It means there is no slope, all right? It's perfectly flat. So, okay. Next problem. Draw the line that passes through the slope 2/3, or draw the line that has a slope of 2/3 and passes through the point 4, 1. Okay. So in this case, I don't give you 2 points, all right? I give you 1 point. So we got 1 point, and it says that the line is going to pass through that point. So I know that. So if I go ahead and bring up my graph paper, I know the line is going to go through that point. So that 4, 1, I'm going to put it on the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, up 1. There's 4, 1. The problem is that so let's write this down. This point that they give us is going to be our starting point. What I need to do is find out what my ending point is. I got to find out how do I get from this point to the second point? I don't know where the second point is. The thing is, though, is because they give us our slope, the slope is our directions. It's telling us exactly how to get from the first point to the second point. So remember, if I have 2/3 here, the 2 is telling me how far to rise, either up if it's a positive, which it is in this case, or down. So it's saying to rise up from this starting point, rise up 2, 1, 2. And then the second number, the denominator is our run. It's telling me, since it's a positive, to run to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's how I get to the next point. So I go up 2. I changed colors here. I started at my starting point, then I went up 2 and over 3 to get to where the next point is supposed to be. And then that's how you can now draw your lines. So you have the starting point, and then you have directions to get to the new point. All right, let's see if you can do one. Last problem of the day. Draw, same question as example 2, just different numbers. Draw the graph of a line with the given slope and point. Now I'm telling you that the slope is negative 1 over 4. And the point that it's going to go through, so here the given slope is here, okay, and the point is going to be 1/3. Now remember, this here is going to be your starting point. Okay, pause the video, see if you can come up with the correct graph of the line. Okay, you're back. So I'll bring up my graph paper. I know my starting point is 1, 3, so I'm going to start by going 1 to the right, up 1, 2, 3. There's my starting point. Okay, so I did that. Starting point is done with. My slope is my directions, where -1 is my rise, the 4 is my run. Now think about it. If my rise is -1, that means I have to go down 1. Down 1. It says a run is +4, so that's going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right to get the point there. Okay, so again, I'm going to get rid of my little lines. But if I went down 1 and over 4, down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, like I just showed you, those are the 2 points that I'm going to get. Again, this was my starting point, and then the new one is my ending point. Once you have your 2 points, then it's as easy as getting a ruler, connecting the dots, and that graph, that line, is your final answer. That's it. That's our lesson for today on slope of a line.